Right now we're going to look at another really fun tool that you can use in Photoshop to make adjustments called Liquify. So let's click here. We'll go to Filter and Liquify right here. This will be different if your layer isn't converted to a smart object, but you can still use it. You just won't be able to turn it on and off like a smart filter. Let's go to Filter, Liquify. And now we have our Liquify program opened. This is kind of like Select and Mask, where you can have, it's almost like a second program opened within Photoshop. It's awesome. So let's take a look at this here and see what we can do. Up here, we have some different tool options. So if we go to the most basic one called the Forward Warp tool, we can see what it can do. So if I bring the brush size up, you can see that I can click and drag around parts of my image. It's kind of like the smudge tool, except you can get a lot more specific with it. So you can make some adjustments, make yourself look however you want. I'll undo all of these and try to make some more serious adjustments. So for example, my hair is sticking up really high right here. If I wanted to bring that in a little bit, I could just click over here, drag it, maybe kind of reshape it a little bit. Over here, we have our brush tool options. So this will affect how this forward warp tool is working. So if I can adjust the size here, I can also adjust the pressure. So if you turn the pressure all the way up, it'll make really strong adjustments. If I turn the pressure down, I'll have to do a lot more to make those adjustments. There you can like barely see it. If we go somewhere in the middle, see that it's not as strong, but it's still working. So let's go ahead and bring the pressure down. It's usually a really good idea to have a low pressure on this. Bring the brush size up. Basically, the bigger the brush size and the lower the pressure, the less noticeable your changes will be. So then I can just kind of reshape this here. I don't know. I can do whatever I want with it. And now you can tell also that we're making adjustments to the background. And it's not super noticeable, but this is why we brought in that background layer. Because if I wanted to like make an adjustment here, let's say wanted to like make my face slimmer and like bring it in like that or something, I'm adjusting the background, and if that looks warped, people are gonna be like, you photoshopped that, right? So if you replace the background, then it's kind of like, I don't know, you get away with it, I guess. So let's just have some fun with this. Bam, I've liquefied my face. Now there's some other brush options here that are really useful. Let's go to the pucker tool. This tool, basically wherever I click, it will kind of shrink it down towards the center of where I'm clicking, so I can make my nose look smaller. And I can do the opposite with the bloat tool. I can make my eyes look bigger. Like that. That's really fun. There's also an easier way to do this. So when people are like talking about like magazines and it's controversial and they're like, that's photoshopped, this is really what they're talking about. They don't care that the colors were adjusted and stuff. They're talking about changing the shape of someone's body, right? And that's where it can get kind of controversial. So for this assignment, basically don't do anything too crazy, but just have fun with it and see what you can do with these tools. So if we click on this little face right here, this face tool, it'll go to our face aware Liquify, and you see that the computer has identified where my face is, where my eyes, mouth, nose are, and we can go down here and adjust these settings independently. So if I go to the eyes, I can click on eye size and drag it up and down to change the size of my eye. Or if I want to adjust both eyes together, I can click this little link in between them, and now the adjustments I make to my eyes will be made together. So I'll link all of these and then make some adjustments here. And just play around and have fun with it. It's kind of freaky what it can do, but it's also fun. And basically, if you were in a serious setting trying to make these changes, you would want to make them really subtly, right? So probably don't go more than like plus or minus 10 on any of these changes. It's really subtle, but if you change someone, like what someone's face looks like, they'll know that you did that. And I don't know, there's just really no need for it. Unless your picture calls for it. If you're trying to like really create something that you had seen in your head, you're really trying to create it with your image, then all of these tools can be really helpful. So this, you can make yourself smile, change your lip size, all this fun stuff. So play around with these settings on here, and I think it would be fun for this assignment to try to just make something crazy, right? Make it look like unnatural, crazy, and just have fun with it. And go to the tools and you can make more specific changes. If I wanted, like, in a real setting for Liquify, a real world setting that I could use this in is like if I was doing some commercial photography and I wanted this line right here to be really really smooth and crisp. I want it to be more of a straight line. You can see some of the wrinkles in the jacket on the shoulder. I want to get rid of those. So I could use the Liquify tool. I'll bring the pressure down quite a bit. And now you can see I can make these adjustments, but they're much more subtle. So right now what I'll do is I'll just try to make this line at the shoulder look more perfect. Oops. So I accepted that. But what I can do is just go back into my smart filter, Liquify here, and it'll bring me back to what I'm doing. So that's one of the great benefits of using smart filters. I accepted it. I accidentally pressed enter when I was doing that, and that's why it accepted the changes and then went back to Photoshop. I can just play with this, make the line look a little nicer. And on the other side, I can do the same thing. So again, just play around with this, have some fun with it. There are a lot of uses for the Liquify tool. Right now we're using it on me, a person, right? But it doesn't have to be used on people. It can be used on anything. So you can change the shapes and sizes and stuff of like anything you have in Photoshop, which is really neat. So now let's look at that. Those shoulders are a lot more smooth, and now I can play with them and make them a little more symmetric. Something like that. So that's how you can use Liquify. So I'll accept this. And the really cool thing about this, using it with a smart object, is that now I can go into my smart object. If I wanted to make changes, let's say I want to change the color of my lips here. So I'll add a new layer, go to my brush tool, and with a really simple brush with a multiply blend mode, actually we'll change the blend mode of the layer. So I'll paint on my lips right here. Oh, I'm not on my brush tool. It's on my clone stamp tool. So go to the brush tool, paint red on my lips. You know, something really dumb and obvious like this. Change the blend mode to overlay. Bam! Looking good, Gib. So now I have this bright red lipstick on. I save that, and then when I go into my other document, even though I've liquefied it, we'll be able to see the changes from the original smart object. So once this is done saving, we'll go over, and bam, even though I've made those changes within the Liquify filter, it's adjusting the whole everything from the smart object. So that is how you can use Liquify to adjust how your portraits look.